Two and welcome. This is Mike Johnson, and you have now joined Mandatory Conversations podcast with Mike Johnson. And I got a great group of men panelists on with me this evening. We are going to have a fantastic time. And on tonight, we're going to be talking about the brothers check-in or check-in for brothers. I have in the last probably 4 to 5 days received numerous calls from brothers who, for whatever reason, they're going through right now. But I had one brother in particular, and this was probably about maybe a week ago. Good friend of mine, he hit me up, and out of the blue, he hit me up, and we're very good friends. He hit me up and he said, "Hey, Mike, how are you doing?" Now, most of the time, and guys, you can probably attest to this. If somebody says, "Hey, Mike, how are you doing?" or "Hey, Ralph, Phil, Daryl, how you doing?" You kind of just respond, "Hey, man, I'm doing good, X, Y, and Z." He hit me up with a follow question. He said, "Hey, Mike, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm asking you, how are you doing? Like you specifically, not your family, not, your wife, your kids. How are you doing?" And I said, "Well, man, you got to explain to me what you mean." He said, "How are you doing physically? How physically are you okay? Like body wise, are you okay? You have any aches, pains? Are you sick? Are you okay?" And then and this is with questions. It was like 5 questions he asked. And he asked me, "How are you doing in your marriage? Is everything okay? How are you doing financially? Is everything okay? Spiritually, how is everything?" And I had to take a step back because I was like, wow, he's asking me about like, how am I doing? How am I doing? And then he said to me, "Mike, this is a brother's check-in. And what I'm doing," and this is what he said, "what I'm doing is I'm just calling brothers and contacting brothers who are close to me that I haven't talked to in a minute. And I'm not that I'm concerned about them, but the Lord laid them on my heart. And I just want to make sure that they're okay." And I really appreciated him doing that. And I think for us as men, we don't do that enough. Sometimes when we say we check in, "Hey, Daryl, your mic is muted." I don't know if
I got some background, so I'm trying to keep it at a minimal.
Okay, got you. No problem. Thank you. And so I really appreciate that. And a couple of things came out of that. I was appreciative that he had done that for me because I'm the one who is typically calling brothers and I'm asking those type of questions. And so for me, that was a different kind of thing. Although I've had it happen, it hadn't happened in a while, but it was just a great feeling. And then we kind of flipped it a little bit. But another thing happened to me, and it came back to my memory, and this was with Ralph. Ralph, you called me about, I think it was almost a month ago. And at the time, I was with a client, so I could not take the call. But what you did, man, I can't even express to you how you made me feel when you did that. You called and you literally said, "Hey," because you called me Mikey Boy. You're like, "Hey, Mikey Boy Johnson, what's going on?" You said, "Look, man, I was thinking about you. You was in my spirit, and you said I wasn't gonna miss the opportunity to call you. You don't have to call me back. I just want to let you know I was thinking about you, and I love you. I'm gone. Bye." And I said, "Damn, man," and that really just touched me. I had to stop for a second. Now, the guy who was my assistant, he was actually in the office with me that day. When I played it back, he actually heard it. He said, "Mike, that must be a good friend of yours." I said, "That is a good friend of mine." And I could tell when he said that, at least I felt like nobody had done that with him. And so it just made me think, man, that's the kind of brotherhood that I always aspired to have, that I have with you gentlemen, all three of you actually. And so I said, man, let us get on here and let's talk about this a little bit. So that is what the impetus is for this show. It's a brother's check-in. And I hope by the end of this show, it will encourage somebody to call somebody they haven't spoken to in a while. And maybe you have spoken to them in a while, but you've not asked them those types of questions. And then, before I let you guys speak and I introduce you all, one of the things I realize is that sometimes as we're men and we're talking, and I know that this all the time because I'm really attentive and pay attention to when people are speaking, I'm listening with a third ear. And sometimes I can hear when a brother is in trouble. Y'all know that flutter or that kind of whatever in their voice, it just lets you know that something is not right. And if you don't ask, you won't ever get the answer to what probably really is going on. Because as brothers, y'all know how we can mask our feelings. Y'all know how we can kind of push it to the side and kind of repress them and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And then we wind up with hypertension diabetes, and all this other kind of stuff. So again, I am excited because I have these guests of mine on, very good friends of mine, Mr. Pastor Phil Jackson, Daryl Jones, and Ralph Miller. I want you guys to introduce yourselves, and you can tell the audience about you whatever you like, and then we're going to kind of just get into it. So Phil, we'll start with you first.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to be with you all, and I thank you, Mike, for giving the opportunity to be here. My name is Phil Jackson. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I've been here in the DMV for over 40 years. I'm a teacher at Eastern High School, also pastor Mount Sinai Cornerstone AME Church in Indian Head, Maryland. I'm married, have 3 children. Been knowing Mike for over 20 years, Raf as well. And these are 2 of my accountability partners. So I'm glad to be here and glad to be a part of this conversation.
Thank you, Phil. You up next, Daryl.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Jones. I'm also from Old Town, Virginia, and I've known Mike for about, I say, well over 2 years now, and I'm also a member of the Silver Fox Squad. And I'm semi-retired now. I was in the government contracting sector for IT. Now I'm into becoming a restaurateur, and it's a pleasure being on.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Ralph Miller.
Yes, sir. Mikey Boyd Johnson, as you said before. Appreciate the opportunity to be on. Again, Ralph Miller. I'm from the Prince George's County, Maryland area, currently living in Accokeek, Maryland. Had a couple opportunities to get away, Atlanta, Georgia, when attending Morehouse College, and then also took a hiatus to live in Michigan for a while. So do have some other experiences in other, big cities, but currently in the IT industry, also some other entrepreneurial activities as well as ministry over at Ebenezer AME Church and a number of ministries over there. Looking forward to the conversation on tonight, and I'm glad you invited me to be a part of the conversation.
Man, I'm glad to have all 3 of my panelists on. So here's where we're going to pick up. And again, guys, feel like, you can jump in wherever you want. You take it over, and then everybody will just kind of piggyback. But Ralph, I want to start with you first because I want to go back to that day that you called me, man. I want to say again, thank you publicly for actually doing that, man. That really touched me. But what I want to know is what actually prompted you to do that? I know you said the Lord spoke to you, and I know we all, the Lord speaks to us like, man, I wonder how so-and-so is doing, but we don't actually, follow through, so on and so on. What actually prompted you to pick up the phone and actually do that?
We're living in some real interesting times right now where, literally here today, gone tomorrow.
Yep.
And I had just experienced the loss of a brother within my network, within my community. And I just started saying, you know what, the brothers that I hadn't talked to in a while, I just want to reach out and touch them.
Mm-hmm.
I called you. I said, I know Mike and Phil knows too. When the 2 of us all get together, if any of the 3 of us call, it's no real effort for us to get on the phone and talk for an hour, 2 hours at a time. And the same thing with Phil, because we don't talk to each other every day. When we do talk to one another, it's just a natural conversation that happens. And when you dropped heavy in my spirit, I said, man, I'm calling Mike and I'm calling him right now. And I've started to make that a habit. So if somebody drops heavy in my spirit, I don't waste any time. I just pick up the phone and I just call. And you literally were one of the first people that I really started that kind of activity with. And because I hadn't talked to you in a while, and again, I know that normally when we speak for a long period of time, but I know that we both go through our entrepreneurial thoughts and processes and thinking. And when you dropped in my spirit, I said, I got to check on Mikey Boyd Johnson. I need to see what's going on with him. And I just said, man, nothing big. Don't call me back. We ain't getting on a rap phone for an hour and a half and all that. I just want to know how you are, man. I love you. Later. Peace. And that was it. And I make that now a practice, man, to really try to reach out and touch brothers that, that touch my heart. Man,
thank you so much. Anybody can jump in. Y'all can jump in anywhere you want to. But go ahead, Darryl. What was you going to say?
So, it's funny. I have not had a phone call like that in quite some time. I've had phone calls like that before. But, I think the last time I had it done, right? I mean, everything was going well with me. But, the one thing that I felt like I had to let my guard down, because, as being black men, if another brother calls you, you always want to act like everything is cool. the thing about it is like when a brother reaches down and really asks you those questions, you almost gotta, you gotta be humble. Like, let it go. It's okay.
Yep.
We're all protected. Everything is health is good, but there could be some issues going on. But sometimes I think we gotta let our ego like aside and really reach out to each other, because we don't do it often enough. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, hey Daryl, let me ask you a question. And this is for everybody, man. Daryl, you hitting on it because this is where I wanted to go with this whole conversation. Why do we feel like we can't just tell each other that? Why do we feel like it has to be this 30-foot wall by 50 feet thick type of thing where we can't just say, man, when you pick up the phone, man, I'm not feeling good. I don't feel good. In fact, man, I went to the doctor. I just got this prognosis, man. And be honest with you, I'm scared out of my damn mind. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. Why do you think that is?
Well, let me just speak for myself really quick, and I'm not going to, take over the stand or the pulpit, but I think the way I was raised, men don't cry, and you got to be the rock for your family, and you always got to have like a stoic face and stuff like that. And I think that is a barrier that's been challenged for me, that I had to really start working on knocking down. Even my kids would say, Dad, I've never seen you cry before. Stuff like that. Thinking, in today's, society, it's like, it's okay. So I think for me, like, the reason the way I was raised, I'm not blaming my parents or that, I guess the decade that I was born in, but that was sort of like the thing that I had to start knocking down that caused me to, keep my guard up and make sure that everything is fine from my perspective.
Yeah. Phil, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is that how are you doing? Doing becomes a verb, and it always associate. We hear really how you're feeling. With men don't talk about feelings. Men don't like to talk about feelings. So at some point, you have to change the question around. You get more out of a man if you say, "What are you thinking about right now?" But to say, "How are you feeling?" How are you doing? Doing being a verb, I've got to use an adjective an adjective to describe now how I feel. And men don't do that. When I was doing marriage counseling, first question on to both spouses was, "How do you feel?" And the woman would always start out, "I feel this." The man would always start out with this, "I think." Covering, couching, camouflaging really what he's feeling, not the fear of expressing any kind of emotion or challenge. And so I think that's one of the problems with how you're doing, or how are you, or are you okay? You have to, with men, I think you have to put in a perspective where you're expecting to have a conversation. What are you thinking about right now? What's been on your mind? And they're more open to that. So now they're having a problem talking about what they're thinking. But emotions kind of, and me, the brother said that he was raised that way. I want y'all to just kind of paint this picture. I'm the baby of 8 boys. I'm 60. I'll be 63 on Thursday. And all my brothers taught me just like this brother said, men not supposed to cry. Men supposed, you're supposed to hide out. And after a while, I started, as I grew and matured and started taking classes and doing things, I started seeing the difference between me and my brothers. Out of 8, I'm being 8. None of them had ever been into the when their wives had babies. They had never been in the room. They're from old school. Men didn't go in the room when women had babies. And I kind of understand why, because to be in that room and see what you see, you can't help but be emotional.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to be emotional. I mean, they weren't taught to be emotional. Yeah, and so they would rather hear about it when it's all over, and then they can give a conversation about it. But they don't want to be there so that they can express the emotion at that generation. And I was different from out of the 8. I'm the only one that was all my children. I was in the room. So I just think that we got to find a way to use words to get them to hold conversations as opposed to leaving doing. It really is a verb. Doing is a verb that requires an adjective to describe. And when you say doing, the first thing you think about is how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing come to your mind. So
but even with that, Phil, do you think by saying that, and I know you said it worked for you, I'm just wondering in my mind, if I ask the question of somebody, what are you thinking? Because I know if somebody asked me what I was thinking, I may not actually go straight to how I'm feeling. I will probably tell you how I'm thinking about, because I might ask you thinking about what? Like what specific thing are we talking about? But when I ask you, and this is the thing I'm trying to get you here with this is, Phil, is how do we get to the point where, like you just said this, we get to the place where we can express our feelings with other men and not be afraid, not be ashamed, not be embarrassed about what the situation is. Because here's the deal, right? All of us go through something. And at different times, Daryl, you might be going through and I'm not. But next week, how do I know that situation isn't flipped, right? And then Ralph, you're going to go through it. Phil, you're going to go through it. All of us are close in age. I'm 52, Phil, you probably older, 63, and then Ralph and Daryl, y'all fit in the middle, right? I guarantee you there's not probably at this point in our lives that we haven't probably all been through the same things or something very, very similar. So I say that because today I was thinking about this and I wanted to ask you all about it, right? I went to the doctor and I was going to get a physical, a second physical, because I had gotten one of my primary care physician said, hey, Mike, I think your blood pressure is a little high. It was 144/80. So I went to go see my holistic doctor, and she said, well, Michael, that's not necessarily the case. It's elevated, but it's not high. And there's a difference between high and elevated. So she began to ask me a series of questions like, what's going on with you? Are you under any kind of stress? What's going on with your job? What's going on with your family? Now, these are questions my primary care physician didn't ask. So my primary care physician is a man. She's a woman. He's asking me what kind of those questions, like what I think. She's now asking me, how do I feel? And she literally said to me, like she gets into it. She's like, hey, what's going on with your sex life? Can you still get it up like you used to? Like, I mean, she's like getting into it because she's saying, hey, I don't want to deal with this generic stuff because if we don't deal with this, because there's some other underlying conditions if you having these problems. So we started getting into it. So today I went, my blood pressure was elevated again. And so I said, you know what? And this triggered something to me. I said, I'm gonna ask Phil, Daryl, and Ralph, have you guys experienced it? And I'm saying to myself, if I can't ask these three dudes, who the hell can I ask? Mm-hmm. If I can't talk to y'all about this, who can I talk to it about? Because I know if I don't talk to y'all about it, I don't know what might happen to me. So I'm not one of those type of people who, if something's going on, to not ask somebody. Or my dad would be the other person I would talk to about. But you guys, I would probably sit down individually and be like, hey man, have you had Phil, Daryl, Ralph, have y'all had an issue with high blood pressure? If you have, what was the triggers? And not only what were the triggers, how did it manifest in your life? And then are you on medication, right? And if you are on medication, what types of medication? And what were the, what were some of the what's the names behind taking these medications? Those are the kinds of questions I have for you all, because I'm like, again, all of you all are my big brothers because only in age only. But I feel like we're brothers because all of us are probably on the same level playing field. But I know all of us at some point go through these things. And I realize as a man, one of the things that cripples us guys is not having a person to go to and ask these questions to get this information. It could be life-saving. It could be life-altering. It could be life-changing. Like, for example, I've heard people talk about these same types of issues with high blood pressure, but I've never heard somebody give a definitive answer and say, hey, man, it's not all that bad, right? You can get past it. You just got to kind of do some of these things. And by the way, let me tell you what I did. Let me encourage you. And so what I'm trying to say is when you talk to other brothers, you get a whole nother perspective about what's going on. You don't have to sit there like, damn, I'm a failure. I messed up. I'm going to die. All these kinds of things. Y'all jump in where y'all want. But that's why I love having a relationship with the three of you, because, I mean, we've talked about, all three of us individually have talked about some major things. Like, we have talked about some deep, deep stuff, whether it be family, whether it be career, whether it be money. I mean, I've learned so much from all three of you about a whole bunch of stuff, and it's made my life better. And let me just add this, and I'm going to shut my mouth here. Because I have friends like you all, I'm in the position I'm in. So when you see me doing certain things, you can almost take credit for, like, hey, I know Mike Johnson. Y'all have added to my life to help me get to exactly where I'm at today. And I only say that to you all, and it's maybe a couple of others, because I got a very small circle. Very small circle. I know a lot of people. I know a ton of people, but I have a small circle. But you guys, man, have added to my life, especially you and Phil and Ralph, because I've known you longer. That doesn't discount you, Daryl, because you've added a lot, especially here recently, to my life. And it's helped me get from one place to another. So when you see me growing, you should know, and I'm telling all three of you, you should know that I'm standing on your shoulders. I'm better because I have men like you in my life to help me do these kinds of things that I'm doing. I'll open it up to you guys, and you go ahead from there.
Mike, I'll jump in real quick if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
A couple years back, man, I was having some tightness in my chest. And I was like, man, what in the world is going on? And, you know that I'm in commission sales, and you know how sales are ebbs and flows, right?
Yep.
And I didn't know if it was related to my job. I didn't know if it was related to my health. I know things have been slowing down in terms of my physical activity and things of that nature, in terms of working out and doing all those kind of things. And so finally I said, you know what? Let me sneak my behind on down here and get checked out. You know what I mean? And I wound up laying out, man, and them jokers put all them little monitors and stuff on me to, go ahead and check my heart. Mm-hmm. Now, I've always had an athletic pulse rate and athletic heartbeat. Every time we do men's season and I do the little thing, they're like, whatever you're doing, you need to tell the rest of them to do it, because you got an athletic, I'm like, I don't run to the mailbox and back. You know what I mean? I don't do any physical activity other than, just I do run up and down the steps from my office when I go out, throughout the course of the day and things of that nature. But I went and got checked out, man, because I had a concern. And I do think that what we have to do is we have to speak to those concerns. We have to get those concerns checked out. And then we have to ask, right? We have to ask others, like, hey, man, have you ever experienced this? Have you ever had this happen? And I remember, I won't call his name out because everybody may know him on this line, but I remember sharing with him. I said, hey, man, when you wound up having to go in, like, what were you feeling? And when he shared with me, because he ended up having to have open heart surgery, I was like, man. So when I went in, they put me on EKG and all that good stuff like that, which then made me go to a cardiologist. Well, come to find out, I have an elongated heart, which is a little different. So one of the little probes was missing. So the guy was like, don't panic, but I think that you may have had a heart attack or something like this. So of course, you're going through the roof when you hear something like that, right? So I go get checked out again. They do the whole, I had to go into the little tube and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, had to have the MRI. So at the end of all that, it comes to find out that everything was good. But I do think that I went through like a little time of probably elevated stress because of the things that were going on. I was transitioning from one position to another position. And again, man, just life circumstances on top of being in a stressful field will have you where you kind of start questioning some things. And I will say this, man, that's when you do need to reach out to your brothers, ask questions. And then, man, we got to not be afraid to go to the doctor, because men, we don't go to the doctor. Like, I got to be dying to go to the doctor. My wife got to take me by the collar and drag me to the doctors. I don't go for nothing. Now, we do go every year. We are religious about our 1 year physicals. Like, we go, and she always makes me go first, because then we go to the same doctor. As a matter of fact, Rev referred me to him. And so Dr. Harris, man, he'll quiz your wife and ask her a bunch of questions and make sure that you're really giving them the right answers and all that kind of stuff. But I think that we do need those kind of accountability partners. And the reason why I brought her into it was because not only do your wives need to be, if you're married, accountability partners, but we need to have brothers in our lives that are accountability partners as well, that can follow back and say, hey, Ralph, man, how's that going with you, man? Like whatever happened with this, whatever happened with that. Are you going and doing these things? Are you getting these things done so that we can have accountability partners that'll help us get to where we need to be?
Yeah.
I piggyback there. We all are different. All of us are made different. And so I'm like Ralph. I never had high blood pressure. Every time I go into a doctor, they bring the EKGs in there because all my numbers are so low. I normally run a heart rate between 49 and 50. The minute they see that, they put in all kind of kids. And y'all know I ran for many years, all those. And so in that case, but I'm very in touch with my body. And I always tell people, when you go to your doctor, the doctor is the expert of finding what might be going on with you. But the one thing the doctor cannot find out is how you feel and what you're feeling. That's your sole responsibility. So if I'm there, and one thing I like about Dr. Harris push and probe like the lady did with you. He push and probe. Most men that get on high blood pressure medicine, their biggest challenge is, and I try to tell men this, is that the first time they get on it, it starts to mess with their libido. That they don't, and you got to go back to your doctor and say, look, doc, this ain't working. Can we lower the milligrams? Work with the doctor. Let the doctor, work with him, and the doctor can eventually get it to a place where it don't have that kind of impact. But more than that, along with taking the meds, exercising is the greatest gift for men in their libido.
Absolutely. Testosterone. Yeah.
And so we have to begin to talk with each other about that, even if you're on medication. And my best friend died, Margot, because he wouldn't take it. And he was in the hospital with a blood pressure of 260 over 160. And to go the very next morning to see him, just to find out they rushed him in the emergency room because the vessel blew in his head and he never recovered. That's what I said. And I was telling him all along, man, you got to be on the meds. I don't care. But it was messing with his sex life so bad that he wouldn't go to the doctor and say, doc, look here, can you work with me and see if we can bring these milligrams down that it don't impact me the way it's impacting me or giving me the kind of side effects that it's giving me right now. And men need to know that the doctor will work with us on those things right there. And the other thing is that when they put us on blood pressure medication, there's other things that we could be doing along with exercise to see that now that I've been taking it for a certain period of time. Hey, doc, look here, can you lower the dosage and see how I respond to that? Your body is your body. You got it. He cannot get in your body and tell what's going on in your body. We have to be honest with the doctor about what's going on with our body. And I think conversations like this helps us be honest. I'm gonna shut up, Mike, but I want to go back when you made the difference between the female doctor. To see, the female doctor knew how to get you in a conversation. Once she got you in a conversation, she can ask all the right questions to talk about your emotion. When I say asking what you think, I'm getting you in a conversation to open you up. Case in point, I went to see a mental doctor on Saturday. And I said, yeah, I think I'm going through the stage of depression, some depression. He didn't let me just go with that. He said, okay, then we're going to, well, depression can show up several kind of ways, physically and emotionally. He said, let's start off with physics. I say isolation. I'll isolate myself from others. That's the physical, removing myself from the present. I don't run with a whole bunch of crowd like I used to. And so I think it may have an impact. He said, well, what's the emotion? I say, this being down, challenging yourself, just feel like you're being outside of the circle, that challenge there. And it makes you feel a little slighted in a way. He said, this is good. I'm glad you're open and sharing this, because that was what was going on with me. I don't have if he gonna know, he gonna ask me a question. I gotta let him know what's going on. I gotta be honest with myself, so he can properly diagnose me and aid and assist me in whatever I need.
Man, that's good, man. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah,
that's real. That's real.
Daryl, were you gonna say something?
And Mike, yeah, unfortunately, I would love if I could stay on, because this is just a very important topic. But if there's one thing that I can leave, is that the thing is, when it comes to, getting brothers, both young and old, about opening up and communicating and talking about those difficult conversations that we don't like to have. I want to tell everybody that the main reason why I changed is because I have a 25-year-old son. If we don't break the cycle now, and if we continue to bring this trait that we've learned throughout the years, it's this cycle will never end. So my thing is, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your sons or your nephews or your cousins or your friends that are young. Because if we don't do it now, this will continue to happen, and the lack of communication, just like the brothers on this call just discussed, we're still going to be burying things. We won't be sharing life lessons learned, things of that nature. So it's imperative that we have to take the time to open up to one another, share information, because we always talk about from business. Hey man, how come you can't bring me up at all that kind of stuff? We want to bring up our brothers and sisters, but you know what? We never talk about it from a mental standpoint. We just talk about the business. But I just encourage everybody on here, open up, because these young folks are watching us, they're mimicking us, and it's very important. If this is a trait if this is a cycle we need to break, we need to do it now. So, Mike, I appreciate you having this topic. I wish I could stay on longer and stuff, but I appreciate you inviting me. Brothers Ralph, Phil, it's nice to meet you and everybody there. But please, these guys on this call are dropping nuggets, diamonds, and everything. Take heed. And, brother, if you ever have this conversation again, feel free to look me up, because I've got plenty to say.
Trust me, we will. And thank you, man. I appreciate you for joining.
All right, bro.
That's a great segue too.
I'll see you later, boy.
Yeah.
Good, take care.
All right,
hey, Mike, can I run with that a little bit?
Man, please, man, listen. I was just because I don't have a son, so I'm like, man, you got the floor.
That was gonna be my piggyback, because you become an example to your daughter.
Hey, Phil, hold on 1 second before you go there. Ralph, go ahead, because I don't want you to forget what you were gonna say.
So it was interesting. I hate that Daryl even had to run. So my son is 22, and I grew up, man. You know, my father, you know, I loved him dearly. My father was military. He lost his father when he was 9 years old. So he really didn't have a fatherly figure in his life. He had older brothers, but my father was very stiff. And he was very, very, you know, he was a military guy, right? He was an officer in the military. So I grew up, man, literally shaking my father's hand. Like I literally, and you all both know me during this time, because I learned to hug and embrace brothers through Ebenezer, through the church.
Wow. Are you serious?
It wasn't until really Ebenezer, man, that all that dapping up and all that kind of stuff like that really was embedded in my world. And literally, man, as we sit up here talking, man, I'm remembering that my father, man, one time he came to the house, and when he would come to the house, he would always extend his hand and shake my hand as he would enter into the house. And I remember one time just grabbing him and pulling him to me and hugging him. And he got a little stiff, but, you know, he embraced me and we hugged each other. But it was a situation from then on that's all he then knew. I had to break him. It was like breaking a steer. Like I had to break him into that. And then my son only realized that. He only saw that because, again, being in the life of Ebenezer now for 30 years this year, it's been 30 years that I've been in the life of Ebenezer, right? And so when you stop and think about it, it was a scenario where my son grew up seeing me embrace people, dap people up and all that kind of stuff. So that's what he was able to do with me. We hug each other, we love on each other, we tell each other that we love each other. And then my son, man, while he was away in school, and just for the general body here, he just graduated from college, but my son literally apologized to me about 2 years ago. He said, "Dad, I'm sorry I call you so much. Just ask me random questions." I'm like, "Man, I'm glad you do, because who else would you call other than me?" Right. I'm glad that you feel comfortable enough to call. He'll call me about cooking. He'll call me about, "Man, this girl did this," or "Dad, what is this that I'm feeling? Hey, Dad, you know, one day I like just any random thing," and he would apologize, like, because he might call me 3 times in a row. "Dad, I know you can talk." I'm like, "Son, I'm always glad to hear your voice, man. What is it?" And we have to give that. And I'm glad that Daryl really kind of launched this, because I do think that it's a generational thing. Because had I not been broken really in the church, in the life of the church, my son probably would have been a product of who I was and not be able to have that embrace. And my wife always even says that I love the way that you and Miles tell each other that you love each other, and to see you all hug each other. Like, it warms her heart to see that, because that's not what a lot of times men do. And so I praise God for the opportunity, man, to be able to have that type of relationship with my son, where he can also feel comfortable talking to me about anything. He challenges me on scriptures, on the word. Hey, Dad, I just now read this. Like, what do you think that he meant when he said that? And I'm like, Miles, you might have called me a little off guard on that. I don't have to go to the book. I'll be right back with you, because he asked these complex questions. And I'm like, ho, bro, let me go do a little study, and I'm gonna come back with you on that. I'm like, all right, I'm ready for you now. But he challenges me to be better, and I pray that I'm challenging him to be better. But that's that iron sharpening iron, father to son, son to father. I'll jump off my soapbox.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, Phil. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna piggyback and do say that to daughters as well, because they're watching as well, and 9 times out of 10, they're looking for someone that they saw, for someone that have some kind of qualities of their dad, if their dad's been around. And so that's important, that even if they saw their dad crying, they know men do cry and men can cry. Mm-hmm. And so that they don't if they meet a guy and the guy kind of, they get in this thing about we're not supposed to cry. She said, well, that's an old myth, a generational thing, but I think that we've grown beyond that. I was in the same situation with Ralph. I come out of the family where, we just hard nosed. My father, they call him Big Jack. They called him that for a reason. He would knock you out in a minute and beat you down before he say anything. And so, and his name was well known around the city of Miami. And so my son, when he was 11 years old, was playing basketball, and the whole basketball came down on him, broke his humerus, that it was a compound fracture. The bone came through the skin and had this big old knot on his head. And so he was outside playing. I was at work. And so they called me and said, come to Children's Hospital. I work right next door. So I ran over there. Don't you know that they was looking at me as if I was an abused father because my son would not cry.
Wow.
My son wouldn't cry. It messed me up. He would not. He didn't. They had social work. They had everybody looking. They had detectives looking at me, talking to me. They thought it was an abuse case, that he would not cry. And I promised myself from that day on, that stopped. That will not, because I was doing to him just what was done to me. We're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to cry. And from that point on, I began to open up. And today, PJ, my son PJ, like Ralph, they when they get a certain age, they start asking the questions. They start challenging. Experience is the best teacher. The lessons that we taught that they wasn't ready to grasp, now they're asking the questions about. And sometimes I think that we have to allow them to make some mistakes. I was reading a book, and it was called The Rites of Passage. And out of all the men around the world, Black men and Black families hold their young boys into adolescence around about to the age of 29. We're still treating them as if they're adolescents.
Wow.
Most Africa, Jews, they start at 13. They start shifting them to manhood at 13. And so we hold on. So, but now I feel like I'm being a father now, because all these questions, like Ralph, are coming at me because now they're in the ebbs and flows of life. And they got to produce all things. This thing gonna get hard.
Yeah. No, man, this is good. I don't have a son, but I can speak from the son-father or father-son relationship. And I mean, y'all know my dad. Man, I've always been this way with my dad. Like my dad, I don't know if it was because my dad didn't know his dad. So I don't know if my dad was like, I'm not going to raise my son in this manner. So it's nothing to see. Some people might even think it's strange. When I'm 52 years old, my father still hugs me, give me a bear hug. And my father takes it a step further. My father would literally kiss me. If y'all have ever seen him, he will, every time I see him and greet him, that's how he does it. He hugs me and he kisses me and he tells me he loves me. And I get that. And I think it's made me the person I am, to y'all, to credit what you're saying. And I was telling somebody this not long ago. We aren't, our generation, I think we might have missed a few steps, man, because we aren't raising men anymore. I don't know what's going on, but we aren't raising men anymore, man. There's a lot of missing things, man. So you see a lot of young guys there's so many missteps. And you say to yourself, man, as far as we come as a people, how are we still experiencing these missteps as Black men? And I'll just leave that alone. But I want to go to this real quick because I think this is important. And we've been talking about this the entire time without really kind of hitting on it. But I really now want to hit on it, Phil and Ralph. Accountability partners. I really want to hit on that because there's a friend of ours that we all have in common who got in some trouble some time ago, and I asked him about the trouble, and we had a very long and extended conversation about it. And he basically told me because he didn't have an accountability partner or partners was the reason why things had escalated to the point where they did. And then it got out of hand, and then it just blew up into this whole big thing. And I asked Ralph and Phil, I said, with all of us that you could have came to any one of us, and you know what he told me? He said he felt embarrassed and ashamed, right? And that stuck with me. And he told me and made me promise him that I would never make this same mistake, that I would not repeat what he had done. And to get beyond whatever I might be feeling in terms of embarrassment or whatever the case is, to talk to somebody, especially another man. Like all of us are married and we can talk to our wives about a lot of things. But there's some things as a man that we're never going to discuss with our wives. Let's just be quite honest, right? That we'll probably never discuss with another woman, but we'll discuss it with another man, right? If we ever get to that level of trust where we can do that. And so I just want y'all to speak to this because I feel like the reason I invited y'all on here is because I feel like that with both of you all. I mean, y'all two know me, and y'all know, man, some of the conversations we had, I mean, we've gotten into like the weeds, but beneath the weeds and the dirt of it all. And it's made me a better person, honestly, because I've had you all to actually say what I really was feeling. Because y'all know we got people in our lives that we won't tell them how we actually feel, even to your point, Phil, how we actually think, right? But there's times that we know, the three of us know this, and I'm sure there's some men who are watching this, we know we got to get what's on our mind and in our hearts out because it's just killing us. And we got to figure out, who and when to tell them. And I feel like with you all, man, I've told y'all some stuff, man. I mean, I think all of us have shared some things. And I just want to say again, man, I love both of you all. And I think this is something I'm going to get to at the end of this about expressing our feelings in this way and telling one another that we love each other. And that when we do that, we hug one another, man. Like this whole thing of this machismo and pride and all the rest of this stuff, man, we got to let that stuff go. But I'll turn it over to you guys and we'll talk about, this thing of accountability and then we'll get to the end of it. And I mean, Ralph or Phil, one of y'all two can pick it up wherever you feel.
I just want to go back to the part where you say we're not building men no more. I think the evolution of manhood has changed. And you just, in your last paragraph, you shared it. That I'm not the same kind of husband my dad was.
Exactly.
I think I'm a better husband than my dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, and that comes with letting some things that probably worked for him but didn't work for me, or work for the woman that I'm with, letting those things go. Being able to express myself. When I talk about thinking, I know if you talk to a woman, and you did when you went to the doctor, she's hearing your conversation, but she's listening for the moment that she can find out how you feel. And she's got to dig. With men, we got to dig. That's our conversation. That's what we do when we talk to one another. We'll talk for a while, and we start getting down to the nuts and bolts. We start to see what's really driving your thought. It's what you're feeling. Hear that, and I say this, and I always say that this is clear to me. If every experience we have in life has an emotion attached to it. Think about anything you've done, if it was traumatic or if it was elevating, it had an emotion attached to it. And so if you don't deal with it, the experience may not come back, but guess what comes back? The emotion. the anger, the anxiety, the bitterness. And so with us, we have to try to listen for each other to get us to pull out what we're feeling, really what we're feeling, because I think that's when you can really define being a true accountability partner. Is that, look here, man, I gave you a space where you can open up. Not here to judge you, not here to there's some people mad to this day. When I first came to Ebenezer, my testimony, a lot of people heard my testimony. Got divorced, ran around the 495 with cocaine being my passenger and thinking that I'm gonna kill myself. I won't make it till the morning. And I wasn't sharing that to glorify the moment. I was just sharing the point that letting men know that I had to get to the point that I almost took myself out of here for what? And it didn't make sense because I couldn't deal with my emotions. I was trying to couch the emotions. I was trying to drown them, and, you know, and it didn't make sense. And when morning came, I was like, wow, I'm still here. You know, I was disappointed. I was frustrated about it, but it opened my eyes and said, either you deal with it or it will tear you down. Or you'll start doing more things to try to drown it, but it ain't going nowhere. And so with accountability, I think that's what it gives me the space. You and Ralph, when we talk, like Ralph, you said in your introduction, we could talk and we just get on saying hello, and next thing we know, we've been on the phone for 2 hours. It's just fun. That's our way of bonding. That's our way of just checking in with each other, seeing if you're okay, seeing how you're doing all right. We may never use words in terms of emotion, but we sense it and we raise the right questions in our conversation.
But to that point, real quick, Rob, before you jump in, that's the beautiful thing about our relationship, because we've been knowing each other so long. We don't have walls up like that. So we know we can, and this is when we talk about accountability. This is one thing I want to mention too. We can challenge one another. Because if you're talking, Phil or Ralph, and I hear something, man, I'll stop that right there. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. I just heard something, and Ralph, you got to tell me about this.
Right. Yep.
You got Phil, you got to talk to me about this, because man, I just heard something that not necessarily didn't like, but I'm concerned now, and I can tell you, hey man, I'm concerned. I'm concerned because I heard this, and I need you to tell me and walk me through what's going on, right? And and I mean, again, not everybody can be your accountability partner. We've known each other for years, so the level of trust that we have, is a very high level. And I'm saying to you all, of course, you can't have everybody as accountability partner. You got to develop a sense of trust. But my point is knowing that, because I know you guys, and if I hear something that's off, man, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. And the same thing with you all. You're like, hey, Mike, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Whoa. Let's talk about this for a little bit. And then we get through it and we do what we got to do. So I think you're right, Phil, there. I think you're right. But I just wanted to throw that thing in with being able to challenge one another when we hear something and giving somebody the permission to challenge you, because that's where another place I think as men we lack it. We won't give each other permission to check us. And some of us need to be checked because we way off, right? And I'm going to say this to the both of you, and I think you know this, but I'm just going to say it because we're on here. Man, y'all know me. Y'all got my phone number. Y'all know exactly where I live at. Y'all know my wife. Y'all know my kids. When I say y'all know me, I mean y'all know me. So I would be pissed at either one of you all if y'all let me go off a cliff, because this is the other part of it, of being an accountability partner. If you my friend, there's no damn way you should watch me make all these mistakes and not say nothing to me. You watch me on TV, you see me on social media, you see me doing something, you like, man, Mike, whoa. And I have to respond to that. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people I won't respond to. And y'all know me in this manner. I'll be like, man, listen. But it's certain people I know, if you say something to me, y'all know y'all have my full attention and I got your full attention. So Phil, or I guess Ralph, whichever one, you can jump back in there, Phil, or Ralph, you can pick up, because it looked like you were going to say something.
So I'll jump on the accountability piece. I do think that what you said in terms of giving permission, I don't think that I need to necessarily get your permission, in all honesty. Because if I see you going wayward or doing something wrong, then I'm just as guilty to not call you out for it as you are for doing it.
Yep.
And the reality is that we have to be bold enough to risk losing the relationship and the friendship
Agreed.
before allowing you to lose your life over something that you might be doing that's detrimental to your life and your health or your future.
Yeah.
And so I have to be bold enough to step out and believe that our relationship can withstand what I'm going to say to you. Because if
Agreed.
not, then we really ain't have what we thought we had. And
Yep.
you can be mad at me for 90 days and I'm gonna call you like, Bama, where you been? Oh, well, that little comment right there. So now you done disappeared for the last 90 days.
Yeah.
Bro, come on, meet me down here so we can do X, Y, and Z and walk this thing, talk this thing through. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's what a real true friend and accountability is able to do for another one. And I know, Mike, when we talked about even coming on, what you had shared was that ability to not hear or talk to each other for a couple months at a time.
Yep.
But yet when we do catch up with each other, that it's just like, man, we just ran into each other yesterday and we talk all along. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man, I can be transparent. At one point, I'm like, man, Phil must have cut me off. Man, we was talking every day. Like me and Rev, we was talking every day for like 90 days. Like we was on the phone, man. I felt guilty on my job sometimes. Man, that Negro called me during the middle of the day. We were still on the phone for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, Rev, man, I got a meeting coming, man. I gotta go, man. I gotta go. But it would be, man, that he was feeding to me, prayerfully I was feeding to him, and we just was having good dynamic social conversation, right? And then I'm like, man, you know what? Man, I ain't talked to Phil about. Man, let me call that joke and see what's going on and see how he's doing. And when we would catch up, man, I never would criticize him, chastise him about it, but we would just hit the ground running, man, with how's Miles, how's PJ, how's Karen, how's Gina, how's Destiny, or whatever. And then I'll share this, man, from an accountability perspective, because I just went through this with Rev, and if we got to run, man, cut me off, because, you know,
you good.
All right, because Rev entrusted me with his daughter to help her make a life decision when it came to buying a car, because he knew that's the area that I focus on. And I even called him and said, hey, Rev, man, look, she got this little friend with her. You know, I'm just saying, you know, he's blocking and tackling, moving and grooving. I'm trying to tell him, you know, this is what it is. And so I remember when I told Phil about it, I remember him saying, like, Destiny, the only reason why Ralph is involved in this process with you is because of me and because of my relationship with him. He is an extension of me, and he's not going to steer you the wrong way, take you down the wrong path. I'd rather see her do nothing than to do the wrong thing. And that's basically what I was telling, like, look, your father ain't coming after me over me letting you do the wrong thing. I'd rather you walk away and do nothing before you make a mistake. And I'm going to tell you like a TI is before I just say nothing.
That's right.
Because that's my man. You my niece as far as I'm concerned. You like a daughter to me, because once I'm embraced, you know, Mike, I done dealt with all your daughters in some way, fashion, or form or another. And I don't have a daughter like you don't have a son. Like Miles is like you helped him through the CAPA process and all that kind of stuff, right? So I feel like as accountability partners, we have to be able to be, if I see you doing something wrong with your daughters, or maybe one of them might even pull me up, like, you know, my dad X, Y, and Z. Hey, Mike, look here, man. I'm telling you now, if you tell her I told you, but I just want you to put this in your back pocket, bro. And take that around the corner, deal with it.
Absolutely.
And come back and strategically tell Stephanie, to tell your father, to come back around like it was dissected and synthesized before you then got into the conversation. So I'm clean. Exactly. But that's accountability, is me making sure that I avail what I know to you as my friend. Because if I don't care nothing about you, I'm gonna let you go down the path. Like, go ahead and jump off the cliff, Negro. I don't care.
Right.
You know, I see you on the other side, wherever that might be. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Mike. When Ralph told me, Ralph said she got this joker down there. I said, okay, look, I got joke on the phone. I said, look at here. Ralph got the lead in this. Step off. He know what he doing. Ralph got the lead in this. I said, that's what Ralph got to go. And look, man, we was together, Ralph. You blessed her, and you did. And I told you, I drove a car for the first time about 2 weeks ago. And man, I'm like, God, this thing drive nice. You know what I'm saying? And she really loved that car, you know what I'm saying? But here you are, you worried about, you know, this is what I think we got to get to. And I want to share this, because Ralph, no, I do this with Ralph. I send people to Ralph, because Ralph is an expert, I say, in cars, and I depend on it. And he done did to my children, that's where they go. I know they ain't buying nothing new, and even if they buying something new, they're going to him first so he can school them. So no matter what, I do that. Keith went there. They do that. And so, and PJ getting ready to come down there real soon. And so we've got to learn to respect what each other does and utilize it. When Ralph, it was like a quid pro quo. When you shared with me that you and Gina was struggling with Miles' decision.
Yeah.
And when I took a different angle because I could see, I just felt Miles.
Right.
And so when Ralph heard that, Ralph said, well, look, I need to get you and Miles together. And man, that was a blessed. It was even, the blessing was you allowed us to go get the food.
That's right. The talk.
Ralph, Miles and I had so much in common that we were sitting there saying, wow. And when I told him I was a daydreamer, he said, oh man, don't talk about that because I'm a daydreamer too. He said, I'm a daydreamer too. But I just sensed when Ralph told me that Miles was making the right decision because he was seeing it from within himself and nothing external. And so we have to allow him to create and produce and manifest what it is. And so I just said, Ralph, look, I think I can encourage him. I know, even if it don't work like he tried it. Right. That's the key. And so you gave me that space. You gave me that space with your son, just like I gave you that space with mine. That's us relying on our friendship, our ability to counsel our kids, trusting our kids with each other. I think that's a part of accountability beyond just dealing with ourselves as our whole, even our wives. Something all three of us have common is that we do spend a lot of leisure time with our wives.
Absolutely.
All three of us do that. And so I'm very conscious of, I may have we start smoking cigars. I realized it was pulling me away from my leisure time with my wife. I had to draw that back in. You know what I'm saying? I had to draw that back in to make sure that this was, because a woman, wives, I'm going to say wives, don't want nothing competing with her and her husband.
That's right. In the time.
Don't. I don't care what it is. We know that. All three of us know that. She don't want to have to compete with nothing about her husband. We can lose it in a way when we start having fun, doing something and having fun, even though we're not consciously doing it. It's just you're having fun. But over time, it pulls away, and we realize, God, I ain't got it like I used to have it. I mean, the time and my leisure time has always been outside of anybody. Last night, since I've been back here from Ohio, it's been you and Stephanie. That's been my leisure time. Or Karen and I going away on vacation. But it's been you and Stephanie. That's, for me, that's a moment me and Mike have the chance together. That's a moment Karen and Stephanie have. That's a moment me and Mike can vent. We do. That's a moment Karen and Stephanie can vent. And we may never know. Neither one of us may never know what they talk about.
Oh, no.
They never know what we talk about. But yet and still it gives us that moment. And I think that's important. That's important. That keeps all of us grounded in who we are, what we're trying to do. And so, I think we really, and I want to share this. I got a buddy in Miami. His name Rob Henderson. Rob Henderson, I meet with him every Saturday. He's a financial genius. I mean, a genius. When I say genius, Mike, I'm saying genius with a G. He got 3 children. All of them are millionaires. He got 3 grandchildren. The youngest is 3 years old, and her value, her worth is $600,000. He's a genius with money, and he was taught by Jews. He left University of Miami to start his own. He didn't finish. Got into finance, but Rob has a way. You listen to him to talk about finance like Ralph with cars. It's almost like he's preaching the Bible to you. He's not talking about the Bible, but he's preaching what he knows. And it opens you up. He has this unique understanding about money. He said to me the other day, he said, Phil, there's $3. There's the tax-free dollar. Now, I'm not trying to shove it. I'm just saying he became into my circle of communication. And I hadn't seen Rob in 35 years. But now we've been meeting every Saturday for the last 4 months at 9:30 to 10:30. Just talking finance and anything you want to share. And I say that because he taught me some things and maybe. And I told Rob, I said, Rob, look, I'm 60-something years old, and you're a year older than me, and I ain't got it together like that. And I said, but I'm learning something, and he's teaching me something. My point is this: we got to learn how. This is where I was going with it, Mike. He said when he left University of Miami, he went to work for a Jewish investment company. The owner of the Jewish investment company came to him and said, "Hey, Rob, he was 23 years old. He's 64 now."
Wow,
He said, "Rob, there's 17 million African Americans in the United States and only 6 million Jews. What is the difference?" Rob said, "Come on, sir. You know the difference. You just told me it's 17 million us and 6 million y'all." He said, "Nah, Rob, that ain't it." He said, "The difference is all 6 million of us know that we are valuable."
Mm.
And this is what we do because we know each other's value. We don't take nothing outside of us before we trust each other with it. What Rob does, Rob got this financial thing going down. Rob refused it, even though most people don't grasp it. He refused to take it out and not give it to his community. He'd rather give it to his community so they can understand it. He put the platform there. It's their responsibility to get there. He make the announcement, and Rob is good at what he does. He said, "I cannot elevate unless I begin to educate the ones in which I came out of." That was key to me. That was so key, Mike. And Ralph, you know I say this all the time. Yes, utilize each other's expertise.
Yeah.
Before we go anywhere else, why should I go somebody else and you doing something? No, I don't care what it is. I don't care what it costs. If we understand and respect each other and we know what you're trying to do, we ought to be trusting each other what we do.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm learning from him, really, man. And I think this circle is a powerful circle, has been for over 20 years now. And I just think it's a good model for other men to follow, really. A good model.
Man, I need to get him off and you need to connect me with him.
Yeah,
You just made me think about something, man. I mean, these are the types of conversations I want to have with men. This is the whole reason I developed this whole podcast. And it's titled Mandatory for a reason. Like I actually highlighted the 3 letters man, right? Because I'm putting a particular and specific instance on men. Because as I said to you, we aren't raising men anymore. And part of raising men field is talking about money and talking about the different areas of discipline that we're involved and where we've done well, right? It's funny you say that because me and Ralph just had this conversation last Friday. Ralph called me. He said, "Mike, I got a truck in Houston that I need to do something with. And I know you got some connections in Houston." I jumped straight on the phone. I called people I knew. I was like, "Hey, my man got this truck. We got to get this taken care of. And it's going to be a benefit to him and us." And Ralph, probably within an hour or so, we had that taken care of. That was done. And that's how, to your point, Phil, that's how we should do it. I sold cars. I still go to Ralph. I'm like, "Ralph, man, look, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think?" Right? If I have anybody I know, I'm like you, Phil. I'm like, "Hey, if it's a car question, let me put you in contact with my man because I know he can do it." Matter of fact, I get on Ralph all the time. I ain't gonna put it out there too much. I get into this all the time, which you owe me a conversation about that whole very subject of that piece of it. And I'll leave it right there. But and again, this goes back to accountability because every time, man, you talk about this, Ralph, I always say, "Ralph, you know I learned this from you." I'm gonna put this piece out there. One, I was in IT as well, never in sales, but on the software development side. For those who don't know this, I was my own IT firm for a little while, and one of the things that I told Ralph a long time ago, Ralph, when you was doing cars full time, man, me and you be talking. I said, "Ralph," he's like, "Man, I gotta go take care of a couple things, but I'm gonna have this time to do this." And I'm like, "How in the hell you got all this time to do all these things?" I'm sitting at a desk. I'm in New York. I'm mad because I'm like, the thing that he doing is what I really want to do. Not necessarily cars, but just controlling my own time and create my own destiny. And I didn't really have that passion for that. And I'm saying this to you, Ralph, for a reason. And I've said this with you several times. I was like, you're the one that really inspired me to be like, you know what? Maybe I just need to not do this so I could go do the thing I really want to do. And so that it'll create this time for me, the time that I want, that I see that you have, I want that for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm going to be better off for it. And by the way, again, I said this to you all earlier, I'm standing on your shoulders because, Ralph, as you know, some years ago, I just said, you know what? I know that I'm going to make a certain amount of money, or I have the ability to make a ton of money in IT. But it's not really what I love to do. I really love doing something else. And I would love to pursue it. And he was like, man, why don't you, if you really want to do it, you're going to have to take a chance. You have to step out on faith and just believe that if God blessed you with that gift, that talent, that he's going to take care of you the rest of the way. So here we are 4 years later. And I mean, y'all know the story. I could have never guessed that where I am today doing the stuff that I'm doing would open up many other opportunities that I never saw coming, because I made the decision to be like, all right, you know what? By faith, I'm just going, wherever this lands, it's going to land. And Ralph, I'm going to share this with you because I used to see how happy he was. I was like, man, he is getting on my nerves with how happy he is in doing this. And I say that in a joking manner because you always talk about your time. And that was one thing I did not have that I wanted. Now that I'm on this side, I wish I would have did this years ago because my time is my own. I say that to say, as an accountability partner, that was something you instilled in me. And I'm saying to you, I got it. I very clearly got it. And had you not shared that with me and pointed out some things and was just on me to say, hey, man, you need to pursue this. You got it. You just need to pursue it. That's what accountability partners do. Not only do we point out where flaws are, but we encourage. Right? We inspire, we motivate, and we don't let up, because we're not going to allow you to be in a place that we know is not the place where you really should be. When we know you're operating here, but God has called you to all of this. That's what we do for one another. And it's good, it's great actually to have that kind of circle to check in on you and say, hey man, what are you thinking, or how are you feeling? However that comes about, are you okay? Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with, are you okay, Ralph Miller? Are you okay, Phil Jackson? That's what I'm concerned with. And it's great when you have other men in your life who care about you that much that they would confront you with that concern to say, man, are you okay? Mm-hmm. Because I feel like, or I see, or I've heard something that's contradictory to what you're telling me. Now, maybe I'm off and maybe I just missed it, but I got a good feeling I'm not off, right? And so, again, man, I'm going to let y'all have the closing words here. But I want to thank both of you, man, for being lifetime friends. I mean, we've been friends forever. And we are not, I'm not just saying we're friends, not that platonic stuff where it's just that. I'm talking about we've been through it. Kids, wives, all of it. We have been through it. And so, man, I want to tell you, man, again, publicly, how much I appreciate the both of you, how much I love y'all, man. And just thank you for being such a blessing to my life, man, to add into my life, to making me and helping me become this man I've become. So again, when y'all see me, man, I hope that y'all can say, man, that's my friend doing that. I know that dude. I remember when he was talking about doing this and we had conversations, and now I'm watching all of these things happen. So I don't give that kind of credit to a lot of people, but I do give that credit to you all because that's how much of a part you played in my life. So thank you. And either Phil or Ralph, one or two of y'all can speak, and then we're going to get out of here.
Yeah. Everything you said, Mike, I did. You guys have been a strong instrument in my life, and really, even though we may not talk all the time, if I'm challenged, it's one of you all gonna get a call, and you know that. Yep. And so that's just it. Not just only when I'm challenged, but if I'm being elevated, I'm excited about something I'm doing, one of you gonna call. I do got to say this. I always say, Ralph, you like Rob. Rob sees money as a tool. Ralph see car. I don't care if it's a Bentley. I don't care what it is. A car is a product to be sold.
That's right. It's an opportunity.
And I know. It's a business. You got to have two things to have a business. You got to have a product and somebody to sell it to. Ralph know he always got somebody to sell it to, and he keeps some product. So I always say that, but that's what that let me know he's a businessman. So he's not tied to it. Rob's not tied to money. Money is a tool. Rob goes as far as to say, he say, look here, if you're poor, he's not I got a responsibility to deal with the poor. But he said, if you're poor, somebody's using you. Somebody's getting over on you. And it don't have to be that way. And so, and for me, and I'm gonna share this with y'all, for the longest, I was afraid. I done had the chance to have so much money. I was afraid because I knew I didn't have the mentality. Only time I had a lot of money is when I was selling drugs. And I knew at this stage, I didn't have the mentality to deal with a lot of money. Rob came in my life at the right time. Because in order to deal with money, you got to know money and got to know how to use money. Rob don't have a bank. He don't go to nobody's bank. But the way he uses money, and he's teaching me how to use money. And so I say to us, and I would extend that to my brothers here too. I'm on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. I said 9:30, 9 o'clock every Saturday morning with him. And he's just talking about money, sharing, and it's like this. You can chat along with him, you can ask questions, and he'll deal with you on that matter. But Rob is a great. He has a real estate agent. He has an investment. He's on New York Stock Exchange. He do all that out of Miami. So I just think it's a great opportunity, especially with what we're all trying to do, and really try to. It's no good to make money and not invest it the right way, that your money become yours. Rob told me, Phil, I need to talk with you because you got a house in Miami, you got a house here, and your house should be making money for you. If it's not, somebody's using the money in your house using your money in your house. Somebody's using it. And so I got a meeting with him when I'm down there on Saturday, the 13th. We're going to sit and chat and just show me some things, share with things. And here it is, just like we're talking. I got to come open and honest and with all my flaws, all my weaknesses to him. Because what good is I'm going to him trying to hide something when I know when I put it on the table, he's going to find it anyway. Because that's what he does. And so that's what I'm clear. This is what y'all do to me. When I come when I come to you guys, I ain't no pretense. I ain't got to hide nothing. I ain't got to feel intimidated. Because whatever you're doing, wherever you are, and Ralph can testify. This, Mike, since you've been with the we probably had to defend you more than anybody with people around us because they know we friends of you. I know I have. I mean, everybody be asking me about it. I just like, look, Mike know what he's doing. Mike know what he's doing. Mike know what he's doing.
Believe me.
And so many questions come. At one point, I walked in a classroom, a bunch of women and teachers, female teachers, and the discussion is the Silver Fox game. And so I just flippantly reached over. I say, see that dude right there? That's my friend right there. And so be careful whatever y'all about to say. Just be careful about what you're gonna say, because I'm gonna address it if you do. And so, but that's people saying that because they know we know you. You said earlier, as you elevate, it's because of us. Well, up we with you, down we with you.
Yep.
Down with you. So that's all I got to say. I really benefit from these conversations with you guys. I benefit from being friends with y'all. Y'all know I love y'all. I don't really talk to many other people outside of y'all. Really, this is extended for me. So that's where I'm at.
No, Mike, I appreciate the platform, man. I won't be long, but just to say that, when you and I met, man, you embraced me. I literally, on my shelves in here, I got a picture of you and Gilbert Ruffin when you all took me under your wing in 2004 down in Cambridge at the Hyatt Regency, man, when we were going through men's season. And I was a coach here for the first time, not knowing what the heck I was doing. And y'all embraced me greater than the group that I was with. And because my type A personality was established and found out about during that conference. I didn't even know what a type A personality was, but it was brought out of me at that time. You all fed into that, and you helped me to get to where I am today as far as, where my walk is and things of that nature. So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate even the invitation, man. I hope that you'll do this maybe quarterly or something that we can come back on and have our conversations extended. And Rev, you know how I feel about you, man, because You were there with me, man, when he was taking me under his wing when, you know, ministry was on my heart and trying to figure some things out. He's like, hey, man, I want you to stay close to me, man. Stay right here. I wanted, hey, come in here, do this, do that, and the other. I'll never forget. We went downtown to the convention center, and this has always stuck with me, man. I'll leave it with this because I think it's important to the accountability partnership and the conversation. Floyd Flake was speaking. Reverend Floyd Flake was speaking, and we walked into a conversation when he was talking about the difference between Christianity and the Muslim brothers and the way that they approach things. How Christianity oftentimes they Bible beat you, they browbeat you about if you don't do this, you're going to die. You're going to hell. You're doing all these things like that. And I'll never forget. He said the reason why the Muslim community is so successful when it comes to brothers is because what they do is they say, "My brother, I see so much in you. You just need to change the way that you view life and the way that you do some things." And they take them by the hand and they kind of walk them down a pathway to success. They make them feel important. They make them feel loved and wanted, and that they are somebody. And so with that, my brothers, I'll leave it with this, that I pray that this platform, man, allows for people to understand that if you don't have a good brother in your life, man, get one in your life right now.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and fine to have a woman in your life, man, a woman to tell you anything you want to hear to stay in your life. That's the reality. You know what I'm saying? Until they're ready to kick you out of their life. Yeah. But a good brother, man, is going to be there with you through thick and through thin, through it all, right? And one thing that I always leave on our little conversations that I have is, you know, your tests become your testimonies, right? I got plenty of tests in my life, and my testimony I wear on my sleeve. I'll share anything about anything, even when it comes to my wife, after I ask permission. It's like, sweetheart, you okay? Like, good? And I'll share. And then also your mess becomes your message. But the big thing about the test becoming your testimony and the mess becoming your message is this. While, yes, it's good to get it out and talk about it, but those become blessings to other people because it allows our brothers to see that you ain't the only one that's been through it. You ain't the only one that's been took to it. But guess what, man? You stay the course, you'll see your way through it. And on the other side, guess what, man? You'll be standing flat-footed like I am here today. Yeah. That's it for me, brother. I appreciate y'all, man.
Hey, listen, it's been such a blessing, man. And I'm going to leave with this. If you got brothers out there, friends out there, people you know, you care about, you love, man, reach out to them, email them, text them, call them, drop by and visit them, man. Make sure they're okay. It's a lot of us right now, Ralph and Phil, we're not okay. We're not okay. And they're not saying it because for whatever reasons they are saying it, but for a larger part, they might be embarrassed, they might be scared, they might even be nervous or anxious about whatever it is they're going through. But here's what I do know. That when you pick up the phone or when you text or when you email or when you drop by to speak to a brother, they're more likely to open up about what they're going through than not. And I promise you this, they actually need to hear from you. They need to see you. I got a friend of mine I ain't seen in a long time, and I just said, I'm coming to see you. I'm coming to see you. I just want to lay eyes on you and make sure you're good. And sometimes that's just all we need is, brothers, somebody just care a little tiny bit about how we're feeling or about what we're thinking, Phil, as you put it. So I want to challenge all of us to reach out to people who we know we should have been reached out to. And we have not done that, just to check on them, to make sure that they're doing okay. Even to the ones who you think are the strongest of men, still reach out to them, because I guarantee you they need somebody to talk to them just like we're talking right now, and to remind them that they are loved and they're cared for as well, because that's not lost on even strong men. This is Mike Johnson. I'm out of here. Thank you for joining Mandatory Conversations podcast with Mike Johnson with my special guest, Pastor Phil Jackson, Ralph Miller, and then Daryl Jones, who had to jump off, my Silver Fox Squad brother. Join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. We're going to come back. We're going to do this again. We're going to have another subject that we're going to be talking about. And I'm excited for where we're going and what we're doing. If you want to reach out to Phil, how can they reach out to you, sir?
PJ Unity357 at yahoo.com.
Yes, sir. Ralph Miller.
Ralph Miller, all access auto at gmail.com would be the best way to get in touch with me. And then my number 301-346-8358.
Cool. And my information is scrolling across the screen. And listen, it's been a pleasure to be here with you on the night. And again, I hope you'll join us. Actually, follow us, like us, subscribe, hit that notifications button so you'll know when we're coming on next and you can be a part of the conversation. Until next time, be good and we'll see you later. Ralph and Phil, hold on a second.
Okay.